Ever really.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to UAP Ladies Night at the Quantum Witch Cafe. Tonight, we are going to be talking to two people that are very interesting. We have Lily and John will be joining us shortly, who are pretty much UFO whisperers. They initiate contact and something shows up, like all the time. So, I have a little bit of experience with what people call CE5, but more people are calling it human initiated contact. And I see Artemis has her later.
A very big glass of wine. I really needed it.
Like half the bottle.
You know what it ended up being? I was kind of like, oh, this is a bit lush, but
it's fine. It's fine. We said drinks are allowed at ladies' night, right?
Yeah.
So Artemis, have you had? What do you know about? Oh, first let's say hi, Diesel Girl. Thanks for joining us in the chat. So, have you done any human-initiated contact meditations or CE5 meditations?
I've meditated and I used to do it fairly consistently, but not for quite some time. Like, to be honest,
okay,
it's something I can get in and out of. It depends really on like my mental health state and stuff. For me, if I have too much going on, I actually can't connect so much. It's more like when I am feeling that balanced state that I can kind of unplug and really get into it. I know people use it in order to unplug, but for me, I can't do it.
Yeah,
my mind just doesn't turn off. Like it just
it's
in like mom mode, like too much.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. So
yeah.
But have you ever used it to try and initiate contact with the phenomenon?
No, I haven't. I've read up on it and like I've seen like the Stephen Greer documentary about it, and especially back when I first really started like getting into the subject again as an adult. But I never really tried it. Like I kind of was curious about it, but I don't know. I thought about it. I've obviously looked up in the sky and I've seen some interesting things, but it's never been through CE5. But I mean, my thoughts are out there. So I mean, maybe I'm doing it without even realizing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about, aliens. And then if I see something interesting, maybe I'm doing it without even really, intentionally.
Yeah, I think it's a lot simpler than people kind of like put it. You don't have to follow the exact protocols that other people are doing too. I've done it, and I know if I do it with intention, I'm going to see something. But at the same time, like I don't have like a nice camera. I'm not in it to document. That's not what I just like making the contact and seeing cool things. So I know I followed this Dr. Greer's protocol for a long time, and now I just kind of do it, more naturally. So
yeah,
one of us has an echo. I don't know who it is. I don't. I'm like my phone's off, so.
Yeah, I don't have it on my phone either.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll figure it out.
I kind of hear it.
Is it me?
It's me.
Sure.
Hold on. I'll go backstage.
Okay.
And see if that helps. Oh.
We did it at the same time. Sorry, guys. We're trying to figure out sound issues. Oh, shoot. So, is it me? Am I the drama? All right. Let you say something. I'm gonna go too. You say. Introduce yourself.
Testing.
Oh, it's me. I don't know. Let me move this down. Okay. So it's definitely me. Well, now it's gone. All right. Well. All right. She can come back when she's ready. Raise your hand when you're ready, Artemis. I put you in and you were climbing. It's all right. I was like, oh, put her back down there. She's like scaling the walls. We had a Spider Woman for a second. I did on accident because I thought.
Oh my god! I was opening the basement window.
That's all right. No, I put it down really fast. I was like, oh, that's a booty.
Oh my god.
It's all right.
Looks so embarrassing. Anyway, let's move on.
Jeez, I don't know why I'm echoing, guys.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, by the way, I think it's you.
Yeah,
who's echoing? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely me. I don't know how to fix it.
That's not too bad, I don't think.
And you don't have YouTube open in another browser?
I have like nothing open.
And does your cam have a mic by any chance?
It does.
Maybe somehow they're both connected, like your microphone and
Yeah.
camera.
Let me see how I can.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
sorry.
Let me.
Tech is never on our side. It
Right,
wasn't
if
for Moon yesterday. She was, I don't know if you watched it, but she like lost connection pretty early on.
Yeah.
And then we were messaging back and forth, like just on WhatsApp, but she was having difficulties and she also had like renovations and construction. So I'm just like, okay, let's just rebook it.
Mhm.
All right, let me try to do this. I put cancellations on. Sorry. I feel like today is just weird. Now it's weirder. Did it go away? Now I'm afraid to talk.
Mhm.
Let me switch. Let me.
All right. Well, oh, actually, I did have a question for you, Lily.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about remote viewing because I kind of was like creeping on your TikToks and stuff. And I was
Yeah.
just curious, like how you got into it or like, just kind of what that's all about.
Yeah. So it was actually kind of an accident. I just started meditating and then I started seeing flashes of images and I wanted to nurture that ability.
Mm.
So I would focus, probably I was focusing too hard on it, trying too hard at first. But eventually I started seeing like whole scenes and started seeing the star beings and started seeing different places. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing at first, but then I started doing like some research and they were showing me things from back in the past, back in the future, just things from all over the place, any place, anytime, really. And then I began to realize, oh, that's what I'm doing. I wasn't astral projecting where I was like leaving my body. I was just kind of viewing a different time and space.
Right.
So
So it wasn't really, it hasn't been intentional, or have you since, like, has it since become more intentional?
um yeah, I'd say more intentional. I don't really like practice where I'm like, okay, I actually tested it out the other day with the moon. I'm like, I want to see the moon. So I sat down and meditated. For some reason, apparently the moon is kind of like off limits. Um,
Mm.
I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but apparently when you try to remote view the moon, you may get blocked out or there's something going on up there. So I said, okay, well, let me try and remote view it from a different time. And I saw, and it worked. I saw the moon and I saw it like opening up and there was a lot of red in it, machinery, like a space base, all kinds of different stuff. So I'm kind of just playing around with it, but yeah, it's
So you
something.
mean you tried like remote viewing into a different like time period?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So
So
it's almost like
how do you do
you're
that? Like you just focus on kind of where you want to go and what time period, and like you just kind of focus in on that, or
yeah, I kind of left it open. I was like, okay, let me, if I've had a previous life or if I've seen this before, let me access a different life that knows what's going on the moon because I'm really curious about it. And then that's
yeah.
just kind of automatically what happened. Yeah, it's
Oh,
really interesting. But it started off like slow, where at first it would be, I would start meditating for like 10 minutes a day just in the shower. And I started getting flashes. So it's something that I like nurtured. And then I started receiving
Yeah.
images and stuff from the star beings. And yeah, it's been pretty interesting.
Have you ever done that for Mars?
No, I haven't. The moon was kind of like my first one the first one in a while where I was like, okay, I'm going to specifically try and remote view this specific spot before I kind of leave it open. Like if there is anything, I just want to see the star beings or meet with the star beings, and then I'll remote view on their ship or whatever. So I'm kind of just starting to test it out in different specific spots. So.
Do you find anything helps to like open your mind to doing that? Or like do you do any practices that aid that in any way?
Yeah, I believe it's starting off. So I know a lot of times people don't have, and I didn't have time to meditate or anything before. So what I would do, and this is probably like the easiest, simplest thing, because everybody's going to take a shower. So just whenever you're in the shower, kind of relaxing. I've got like eucalyptus and stuff in there too, and it just kind of like helps set the mood. You can dim the lights if you want, and then just taking advantage of that like 10-15 minutes while you're in there. And within a week of just kind of relaxing, focusing on the water and relaxing your mind, you'll begin to start having flashes of images like within a week of doing that every day. So I'd say that's probably the easiest way to get started. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure some things will help. Or will help. I'm hearing that feedback too.
See, it came back even after I left. I'm gonna blame StreamYard for being weird.
Yes.
When I was gone, it was still doing it. Yeah, I didn't even. So I met you on Clubhouse, right, Lily?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know how I met her at this point. And it was like in a CE5 room or something. And yeah, we just started talking. And then I started following her on TikTok. And she has like lots of viral videos on there. Like, how many followers are you up to on there now?
I'm pushing to 60,000 now.
So TikTok is in love with your work. And a lot of people should be, because you're not afraid to say what you're doing. Like I do, I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but I don't have like the confidence to talk about it yet. Like the whole remote viewing and other beings and stuff like that. I'm just kind of like speaking out of it, starting to speak out about it, because you will have experiences if you remote view certain areas of the universe and meet beings. But I feel like you're super brave to do it, and I admire that because it's real, whether people want to believe it or not. And they're not going to get the evidence that they're looking for. They're not going to get hard evidence right now because we don't know how to collect it for these sorts of things. So how did you, I know, your background story with the UFOs, but how did this all start? Like, how did you become a UFO whisperer?
So this was totally by accident. Like all of it was not, I wasn't even thinking about UFOs or any of that. So I started off doing astrophotography, just taking pictures of space. And so during COVID, I spent a lot of time outside, and I've always wondered, looked up at the stars and wondered, and they just started coming to me one night while I was out there by myself. Like I just turned around or I went outside of my house. Actually, I stepped outside on the front porch and I look over and I see a bright light hovering, like the cliche alien hovering craft over in the far away. And then a second one appeared, moved up and down really fast, side to side, came straight towards me, and then vanished right above me. That was my first encounter. And after that, I started seeing them a lot, like back to back. And so initially it was, this is crazy. And I'm out there with my camera, so I was trying to document it. And of course, nobody believed me at first. But as time went on, I got kind of better at collecting the evidence. Although it is really tough with UFOs. It is tough. They move very fast.
They're so fast.
Yeah. They don't operate with they're not even what you would expect. It's not always going to be a flying saucer. A lot of the things that I see are like orbs of light. Yeah. So that's kind of how it got started. And that just like threw me into a whole, like, who are they? What are they doing here? Why am I seeing them? This is crazy. People need to know about this, and just kind of trying to collect the evidence and share that with people because it's huge.
Actually, I'm kind of curious because you kind of touched that in the beginning, like when it's harder when people didn't believe you. So like what kept you going, and like how did that impact you mentally?
So it's definitely been back and forth. There's been good times and then there's been bad times. At first I felt so strongly about it that I did not even care if there were any mean comments or whatever, because I'm like, I know what I saw and I felt so strongly about it. But it did kind of get it has been a little up and down, like I said. But now I'm starting to trust that the information will find those who are ready to receive it. And I've been switching my focus less from here's the hard evidence and trying to preach to people that they exist to I kind of changed my energy to talk about them like they do exist, that like they already exist, and who's interested in developing spiritually and learning what you can do with these beings. And just that shift in energy, I noticed started attracting different types of people.
I noticed that for sure. Because I remember when I met you, you were all about, I'm a field researcher, I'm going to go find this. And then just watching you transition into that state of being where it doesn't matter. You're not trying to like prove it. You're not even like searching as hard anymore, but you are, and you're just talking about basically your spiritual journey with these other beings. And it's been super cool to watch because I feel like I met you right before you started getting really deep into it and started doing, it just seemed like you were having more and more contact, more and more different ways. And that is super cool. The one that I shared was the triangle one, and it's in my story if anybody wants to go see it on Instagram. That one was like the coolest. I feel like out of all the ones, I've never seen somebody capture one of those. So
are you talking about
able to screen share it?
Yeah, the little diamond triangle looking thing. Was that there? Like, were you able to see it while you're meditating, or did you catch it later?
No, so that I could feel it, but I had my eyes closed. So that's what I was testing out different things. And what I would do is set up either a time lapse or a video to be capturing it while I'm either in front of the camera or just meditating or whatever. And I didn't even see that with my eyes, but I could feel it. So that was a very pleasant surprise. I feel like some of the things we may not even be able to pick up with our own eyes. A lot of the stuff I capture, but you can feel it there. Yeah. So
or you'll capture on camera, but you didn't see it with the naked eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
so I've had some of those. I've had some where I have seen it like a physical craft. But also it's strange because one of my first encounters, it was a big ship like 30 feet in front of me. I took a bunch of consecutive photos of it, and it was changing shape and like kind of coming in and out of the dimension. And you could see that the difference in every photo. So they could be there for just a blink of an eye and then just be gone, like a whole physical ship. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
I really think it's in your head. Everybody, it's like a traveling echo.
It is. It's really frustrating.
I'm so sorry, everybody. Shoot. I don't know if it's going to stop, but so I'll just ask a question and then I'll mute. And maybe if we mute when somebody's talking, it'll help a little. I really don't know.
That's what I've been trying to do. I feel like it's helping for my mic. I don't know. But then I still hear it throughout. So I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, we'll try just to mute if we're not talking.
Okay, perfect. So you've had some really intense experiences too, right? Where you weren't quite sure of the intention or if these what you were seeing was actually extraterrestrial or possibly government or something completely different. Do you want to tell everybody about that crazy red cloud experience that you had?
Yeah, so that was interesting. um, so there was a night, and I just felt like the inner calling to they're up there, and at this point I was kind of obsessed with trying to find more about them and figure out what they're doing, because I just knew I started seeing like a bunch of government aircrafts going back and forth past my house. Where I live is a little sketchy. I think there's definitely some other kind of underground things going on, like literally two underground things. Um, so I went out just kind of exploring. Well, no, really, I initially went out just to take photos. It was a clear night, and I went into the gas station. Whenever I came out, just within a minute, it went from a clear sky to completely thick, like red fog, like a crimson fog. And I was like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. And that's not the normal color of clouds at night. So then I started driving around to and kind of just like researching it and analyzing it, like the weird way that it was behaving. And I was called to a couple spots. There was an opening right across the street from my house, actually, that two weird openings in the clouds. So I went and parked, and I was just recording them and kind of just hanging out, like set the intention out, like I want to know what's going on. Um, at this point, I didn't know who they were. I hadn't seen any star beings yet. So it was very new to me still. And as I was doing that, uh, I looked up, and a triangle, it was three lights in the shape of a triangle, just lowered down right above me, right above my head. And I was literally stunned. Like through the clouds, a UFO just lowered down enough for me to see it right above my head. And at the time, I didn't really, I didn't know much. I was like, I come in peace. I didn't know if, what, because the vibe was very weird. And then after that, I saw a twist. It looked like wands coming out from the sky and twisting. Very weird. And it got very close to my car. It was like a little tornado, but it wasn't behaving like that. And then at that point, it got really close to me, and I was like, I have no idea what this is. So I got kind of spooked and left. And I think that, I don't know if the government had been messing with the clouds or weather or trying to hide something. I still don't know exactly what was going on with that. But yeah, I definitely had kind of conflicting feelings. I also saw a dark, shadowy figure jump over my neighbor's house right after that. It was kind of like an octopusy looking shadowy figure. So that one was a weird one. And at the time I didn't know, is this government? Is it ET working with government? Or what's going on with that? So
Yeah, so you live in Missouri, right?
mm-hmm.
And there's so Missouri is part of like one of the biggest cave systems in the United States, and there's also a high concentration of quartz there. And there's also Fort Leonard Wood, and isn't there another military base as well? So it's kind of almost like Kentucky is the same way, where there's a lot of cryptids here too. On top of it being kind of, I wouldn't say it's a hot spot because not a lot of people report out here, but there's definitely some strange things that happen in Missouri and that happen here. And when I was in Missouri, that's when I first started seeing them again since like Alaska. Like Alaska, I had only good experiences, beautiful orbs. I actually had a couple sleep paralysis incidents, but I think that was because the house I was in was haunted. I don't think it was related to extraterrestrials. So I think my next question is, have you had all beautiful experiences, or have you had any intense sorts of experiences like sleep paralysis and nightmares that involve extraterrestrial beings, or has it all been, I guess, I don't want to say positive or negative because I hate how people want to put things into camps, but have you had anything that's a little more questionable as far as the intent of the beings that you're contacting?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's been positive. But whenever I started diving more into opening my third eye and meditating and with the visions, and I noticed that it was heavily impacted by my environment. If I was around like a very negative person or negative energy, or if I got say I got into an argument with somebody and was having a bad day, I would start having more negative. It's like it would ricochet very, very quickly. I did have some experiences with very violent, dark visions for a little while there. And I wouldn't say it was, I don't think it was ET. But yeah, I did struggle with that for a little bit. And I found through just being very careful about the state that I'm allowing myself to be in and not being around negative or just environments that make me feel very negatively, because it just 10x'd it. And grounding.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's, what you surround yourself with. It's not always just what's going on inside. It's your environment and everything around you that can definitely impact
Mhm.
your well-being, and also like how clear of state of mind you are even to initiate any sort of contact anyway. I think a lot of it is with your mental health and what you perceive as
Mhm.
well.
And being very, very specific about who you're trying to make contact with. I also found that out kind of the hard way in the beginning. Set out the intention to make contact, and somebody in the group was fearful, so they already had that fear, or they had something else going on that wasn't on par, and I guess it sent out a message, some sort of a message, and we ended up having some poltergeist activity that night, some weird experiences. So after that, I was like, okay, now I know we have to be very specific, and if you're doing it in a group, make sure that everybody is in a good state and is open to it and doesn't have any fear, because if you project that fear, I feel like you're going to get more of that. So that was a big lesson for me.
For sure. It kind of goes back to the whole. I swear it's moving from person to person. It's so weird. So it's kind of like what we've learned. Like when I took a priestessing class, we learned a lot about building a tight container, whether you were astral traveling, dream walking, just even meditating sometimes, because people don't realize when they open to one thing without intention and a tight energetic container around them, and that's intention mostly, because a lot of people don't call people to like protect them or call the direction like a witch would, but you definitely should set your intention. Like I'm only inviting beings like, in service to the greater good, or however you want to put it, or higher vibrational beings only. And I think a lot of people start doing meditation or initiating contact with extraterrestrials or non-human intelligences, and they just kind of just like blow a door open for themselves, and they will usually start getting other paranormal experiences. And it's kind of crazy how it all connects, and we see a lot of that at Skinwalker Ranch. But like you said, if somebody's afraid, some things will kind of like, it's like attracts like when the universe is involved. That's like for anything, I think. What is so you Oh, sorry. Somebody smoke out just joined the chat. Hello. So have you had any like I don't want to say conversation, but have you had any like when you're making contact with beings, and they don't talk the way you and I talk. They give you images, they give you impressions. You just kind of know um what they're saying or what they're trying to project onto you. Have any of the beings that you've been in contact with kind of said why they're here, or why they're staying away in some cases, because some cases, like, they don't get involved. They're just here for support, sort of thing.
Yeah. So in the beginning, they were leading me with signs, a lot of signs, synchronicities. Like a couple of the major ones is the eye, like the all-seeing eye, the eye of the creator, and DNA. They would literally like make those out of the clouds, like a strand of DNA, an infinity symbol, and an eye. I know it might sound kind of crazy, but that's what they were doing. And
to some people, all of this sounds crazy. So don't worry.
Like every last part of it.
You know, you're in a safe space. You know, that's important to remember.
That's important to us to make, like, so anybody could say anything that happened. Which something's happening right now. John is here. So I'm going to add John, introduce him, and then we're going to continue on the signs and synchronicities, which John popping up right now is also a synchronicity because they speak to him through signs as well. Yes. So welcome, John. I'm so glad that you made it, and it's great to see you. I've only heard you like on Clubhouse, and so we were just talking about how the beings give us different signs and synchronicities when they first kind of start contacting us. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Lily about whether or not she had received any impressions from the beings that have said why they are interacting with us or why they're not interacting with us more. So she was saying, you know, you can go on. You said they were speaking to you with signs, they were showing you things in the clouds, and
yeah. So a couple of the big major points was DNA, and then I learned DNA activation. They are helping activate our DNA and awaken these memories within us and these special abilities. So that was one of the main ones. And with teaching us that we are all one and we are the creator. Very spiritual. It got very spiritual to my surprise. I was not expecting UFOs and aliens or whatever to be a spiritual thing, but they ended up teaching me a lot about spirituality and how to look within for the answers and develop these special gifts that we have. And I think that they're easing their way into making contact. And I believe that you have to do a certain amount of internal healing and just releasing of a lot of old stuff. So for a few months there, I honestly, like, I meditated and cried in my bed, like, for some time.
Sometimes that's a form of self-healing, you know, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and like sitting with your feelings. It sounds, you know, maybe not like everybody's cup of tea, but it's actually very therapeutic. And I mean, it's hard to sit with your feelings, and, you know, obviously when it's uncomfortable and you know, it's not always positive.
It's energy. It's how energy is transmuted.
You're releasing, and you're allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, which is so important. And that's how you heal, is accepting the feelings and telling yourself it's okay and that they're valid, really. And that's really important.
Mm-hmm. So, and becoming aware of them is a big one too. Awareness, I would say, is like 90%. Yeah.
So we have John joining us. John, today we kind of talked to her to Lily and Artemis, kind of like Artemis and I both like I've done, you know, human initiated contact. As you know, I've like contacted you and Lily both. I had like a dead period. I'm like, what's going on? I don't see anything. And John's basically like, they're letting you integrate what you saw last. And then this whole like weird healing transition thing happened. And then once I accepted that and let all the feelings come out and actually process instead of just sitting within, I went outside and I was like, I saw one. And I think every time I see one, I send it to her because I'm like, look, I was like just meditating in my car while the baby was napping, and I wasn't even trying that hard. And I finally, you know, caught one, and But yeah, it's very interesting that your processes are so different. So, John, how did you get involved in? How did your journey start with making contact?
It's such a pleasure to be with everyone today.
It's
Um,
great to have you.
I just walked in from outside, so I had my jacket on. I do it every night. It's a daily practice for me. But Priscilla, I used music initially to contact, and I actually every time in some form or fashion. But I had dinner with President Carter, and we were talking about UFOs many years ago, and he was very open about it. And so I decided to try an experiment to project what I love very much into the universe, which is music. Um, and when I did that, almost immediately, within the second session, I had a beautiful purple dome-shaped plasma craft with a pink ring around the bottom third of the bell that came over my home, and it exuded this beautiful feminine energy and was very positive and loving. And it was just, to me, one of the most amazing um, events. And it was really so easy, because when you project what you love, when you project something that's important to you to the universe responds in a very positive and important way. And I would encourage everyone to try it. It's a beautiful experience to go out and just realize how important each and every one of us are to the universe, and how respectful and loving and caring they are to us. And
So how
so
can more
that's how
people get to that place? How can more people? We have so many people that care so much about the phenomena in one way or another, and it's horrible because right now there's these two camps saying like, "I'm nuts and bolts," or "You're woo woo," or, but we all want the same thing. We want more people to accept these beings and these crafts as part of reality, even if we don't understand it. But how can more people get over that hump? And you touched on this, Lily. You said we kind of have to release things that are kind of, this is going to sound super hippie for the nuts and bolts people, but it kind of lowers our vibration, and they cannot, it's like you won't even, you're not on the same channel as them when you're in a low place. But how can more people get past like having to see to believe?
I say flow state was a really big one, and that's one that they taught me, and that's how I was able to. Because originally, before I even started meditating, I wasn't meditating for like the first 6 months that I started having these encounters. It was every time I picked up my camera and got just consumed in photographing the sunset, or looking up at the sky and taking pictures of the stars. And that's when they would come pretty immediately. But also a routine I've noticed, because I've been focusing more on meditating and communicating with them that way, and not as much out in the field. And then whenever I go out in the field, there's kind of like a lag there. I'm like, where are you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like John told me the other day, he was like, said, it's a daily practice. It's so important to do it every day. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. It is.
Because he goes out there, guys. John has like a YouTube channel of like these beautiful experiences documented. So definitely he's like the person to guide us, guide other people into it. So if he says doing the routine helps, and you get into the flow state with your music, correct? You like play the guitar for these beautiful beings, and they like it because you're elevated when you do it.
And exactly. And what I find amazing is I don't even have to physically play. I can play it in my mind. And when I do that and project, because each of these pieces I've known for the majority of my life, really, and they're little crystalline pieces of beauty that I have within myself, and I project those clearly into the universe, and there's incredible velocity to those actions, and it's immediately recognized by the intelligences, and they come in, and it's fun, it's exciting, it raises your consciousness. It makes you realize that we can move to the next dimension. We can elevate ourselves and all of humanity if we work together to do this. So I encourage everybody, and people come out with me all the time. I just tell them, are you ready for this experience? Because some people aren't. And when they see these energies from another dimension, they completely flip out. And so, you have to prepare yourself, because it expands it expands who you are. And some people, like you were saying, it's a hump that people have to get over. And once you get over that, and you realize that it's important and it's there for us, then we can really make an important change.
Like this comment here, man must let go that which is not essential, not that which clouds their consciousness. Be less like Didymus. And Didymus is the person that wanted like hardcore proof that Jesus was real. He had to see to believe. And when it comes to certain things in this world and in history and every day, you're not going to get you're not going to be able to hold it. And you do see with your eyes, and you get this amazing footage. But I'm wondering if people wanting it so bad might cloud their connection with their own, like, it's kind of like clouding their consciousness, which is your connection to these beings, right? So
That's
people
true.
just chill out. Don't expect one to like shake your hand the first day, maybe later. So have you had any physical encounters, John, with like beings beside? I know you see a lot of ships, but have you been visited by any non-human intelligence?
I have. One Easter, the day after Easter 2019, I was going to the park, and I have a few pictures of it I can send to you, or I'm not sure how you upload on this exactly, but I was going to my park that I go to. This is our agreed upon place that we've agreed to meet at for many years now. And it was during the day, and this beautiful multidimensional creature came through this portal, and it was just an amazing thing to witness. And at that time, that was 3 years ago now, and it was a little too much for me to handle at the time, and so I could only take a few pictures, and I had to kind of look away, and I didn't stay there. It's just taken me a while to try to understand why I was not able to fully encapsulate that entire experience. But that night I went back to the park like I always do, and golden energy dropped down to treetop level, and I apologized, and I said, I'm very sorry. I was not able to, stay and enjoy this important event. But they understood. The golden energy expanded about 10 times, saying, yes, we understand that it's difficult. And so
that's paradigm like shattering, not just shifting. Like that is shattering your reality. When you see something come through another dimension, you might think that you're like crazy, or like your mind's trying to process something that we've never seen or like felt before. Feeling is a big thing, right? When these things happen. If you want to, so there should be a screen share button at the bottom of the screen, and you should be able to share images. This looks like a little TV or a little monitor with a plus sign. So I think what you have to do is, Artemis, do you know how to instruct people through screen sharing if he wants to share a picture? Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, it was unmuted on my mic, but not on the screen. Anyway, sorry. On the bottom, there's like mute, stop cam mic settings, and then there's a share button. And you just go screen share and then choose which screen, like if you have multiple screens or not.
Oh, so he opens the screen on his computer and then he shares it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't, as long, So you don't have anything other private
I'll
open.
work on that while we're talking. Maybe I can
Yeah.
pull up some
Well,
things
just
for
make sure you don't have anything that you don't want to show
Yeah,
on
like your
the
email, your address, bank account.
you.
anything.
Selfies. No.
But I also have a friend that has been
Selfie.
interacting with. He's a very famous and important person in this entire world of encounters with our star family, and he's asked me if I wanted one of his major friends to come visit, and I said sure, absolutely. And I was at the beach, and I was projecting at night very intently, and nothing happened. And it's okay if that happens like that. And when I was going to bed, I laid down and I heard a hiccup right next to the bed. And when I contacted my friend, and he has an entire team around him for security purposes, and because his whole story is really intense and incredible. But they said, yeah, he when he comes and he's not sure that he can really show himself, and he's trying to stay quiet, he will hiccup. And so I've had two or three events, very small, very subtle, of this particular being that has come. I have not seen him, and they say he's very difficult to see in this dimension, but you can feel his energy. And I've had three events with him so far, and I'm really waiting for the next one as well, because he asked if I would like for him to come back, and I said of course. So I'm waiting for that event as well. But it's an amazing thing. I mean, and it's so real, and it's available to us, and there's nothing to be afraid of. If and like I told other people, I'm not so naive to think there's only good in the universe. But when you project in a very beautiful and positive way, then that brings those same kind of energies to you. And I've never had anything but really wonderful, lovely experiences.
Well, you have wonderful, lovely energy. Like I can hear you talk. You're just like you just have this calming presence, and people are like, "Oh, how can you feel that through the screen?" Because we are thinking three-dimensionally when our light bodies and our souls, our spirits, whatever people want to call it, it travel. It's here and there. It's not just in
There's
one
no
spot.
borders for
No,
sure.
and
I
I
can
feel
attest to that as well. When you
okay.
feel a connection, like it
Oh yeah,
doesn't matter.
she met her.
I
She
met my boyfriend online, and so, but we're together, like living together now. But we met online, and like that connection, it didn't matter that like an ocean was between us. Like it was real, and I mean it's real now. So I mean it doesn't always work out that way. It's just that there really is no, like, I know it's not always the same on the screen, but I even think the life events we've been going through globally in the last like year and a half, 2 years, that we've adapted and we've had to communicate a lot more online with our family, friends, and um, even just the online communities. And I think that with those adaptations, we've grown to feel these connections in different ways, and we're opening our minds to different things. And we're spending more time with ourselves and like with our thoughts and having to go through those things. And so with doing that and that self work that some people were kind of forced into, or reevaluating their lives, their professions, their just their life choices, with doing that, um, some people have gained more experiences or more sightings or more um, open-mindedness. And so even through bad situations or things going on globally, which we know is going on, um, we can find those positives and we can grow from them as well. So
That's
there's
true.
definitely a balance, but you know, these connections are beautiful, and like we have to embrace them and then just keep adapting like we always have been. We have through the ages, really. We've had to adapt to our circumstances and grown from them, learned and carried forward. So there's no difference now, you know. We're just we just have a bigger topic in mind as well.
Right.
And we have a bigger knowing, and or at least we're starting to see past our little tunnel vision. We're starting to open our minds and connect more and talk about it more openly, which is really incredible. And especially for experiencers. I'm not an experiencer myself, but I mean, um, I can imagine that feeling of um, feeling alone or not being able to connect with anybody about this topic. And now with this online community, that's grown exponentially, and you're able to connect with other experiences around the world, which is a really good thing. So
Yep, and we're all in different spots of the world, for a reason. I think it sucks because we're like, oh, I wish you were here, but I think everybody's strategically placed to
yeah.
kind of like hold their little area of the world, I guess, or the grid, whatever people want to call it. And it's like
Mhm.
we're taught to like not trust our feelings and our guts and our intuition. We're taught that if you talk about feeling something, you're a hippie or you're this or you're that, you're too sensitive. Well, like we're supposed to be that way. We're not supposed to be these
Yeah.
rigid, shut off beings. And what you brought up, I never really thought of it that way, is that because I've always been an empath and I've always been a weirdo. So like to me, like being locked, when lockdown happened, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm always with my boys. So to me, not a lot changed.
Yeah.
And but for some people, like you said, they were like kind of like forced to make connections virtually, and people don't realize virtually is real. Like it's a quantum connection, just like everything else is, and people
Yeah.
are really
But it's
down for
foreign
that.
to some people, or people still, I mean, naturally we still crave that physical connection, like with somebody, like, in a room having that conversation, or in feeling like that person's energy as well. So we do have to adapt to that, but it's not a bad thing. It's just not everybody can go right on board with it. So some people can still feel alone, even if um, they're in that change period, But I do think having that online community, and even though social media can get toxic, there are some, really big positive aspects as well. Or even just being able to share your experience, and then, if no one responds as well, whatever, at least you kind of got it out there. So that's also self-healing, really, because you're allowing yourself to share your experience, which is a really big deal. That takes a lot of courage and strength to do that. So um even if it only connects with one other person, that still feels amazing,
Yeah.
to find even that one other person who really connects on that level. And then again, makes you not feel alone, and that can really change everything. And we're breaking down those barriers slowly. And like, even although we always feel like we have so much more to go, we have come a long way. And I mean, if you had an experience or talk to you right now versus like even like 10, 20, 30 years ago, like they probably wouldn't even be talking openly at all.
Yeah.
So it's a slow progression, but we're definitely at least in that right path. And being able to talk online for sure, I think, helps with some of these barriers to change that and to grow, really. Yeah.
So it's been really cool to watch everybody kind of opening up. And like I
Mhm.
said, like I feel like watching Lily's journey through all her videos, that it's been super cool, her documentation and now her spiritual experience is really kind of like paving the way for people to see that you're not going to always be one way. You're always not going to need the proof because something's going to happen at one point when you're searching like this, that it's going to make you doubt everything that you thought would be the proof anyways. And that's like the turning point for people, and that's when they start experiencing more on different levels, and not so much even like the physicality of a craft, but like the energetics around you change when something's around. Like you were saying, Lily, when you felt that triangle but you didn't see it because you were meditating. And who know, we're like embedded in all these different dimensions. We don't know what's here and what's not. And the more you work with your intuition, and like you said, clear out the old energy and baggage, you'll start kind of having those energetic feelers out. Like I had a friend recently, she had all this contact experience in North Carolina, and she was getting afraid because she had a really this experience one night with a being, and she does not believe in this. She's Catholic. But she's starting to have more and more experiences with extraterrestrials and or non-human intelligences. She goes outside. She's like texting me at 9 o'clock. Priscilla, they're everywhere. Like she sees them. And North Carolina is, like a lot of people report things. I would say it's a hot spot. And she is like, well, it's weird because now I'm feeling other people's crap, and like I realized, and was like, well, because your empathic qualities have opened up, and people don't realize that they have this big like field around them of energy that's almost like it is an extension of you. And when you start opening up to things like this, you're going to open up to other things, and you're going to start kind of getting confused because you're going to become more empathic to people around you, because you could be, our energetic field goes at least 5 feet away from us. And so we're commonly like intercepting, even with our stupid, distance rule in the world. We're always like coming in contact with other people and their energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, John, what year did you have like your first sighting?
I was probably 15.
Okay.
And my sister and I were driving out of our neighborhood, and this beautiful giant golden craft went through my neighborhood. It was really something. But speaking of Lily, I'm so impressed with her journey as well. And oftentimes I'll ask our star family to go visit Lily. And a few days ago, I had this beautiful V-shaped formation that came. What I do is I have a constellation of intention, and I set up a camera. Right, it was Cassiopeia and Andromeda, and the V flew directly through. I have one camera set up, actually 2, and one flew directly through there, and there were about 30 energies there that were just amazing. And then a few days later, Tan and Lily had a video where the same V shape, it was much farther away, but it was literally the same group that went to go visit them, and I was so happy to see that.
Has Tan been seeing more?
That's the first time I'm hearing this. I didn't know it was the same thing. That's awesome.
It is.
Wow.
And then the next day after the triangle, they came back in a straight line, and they flew directly overhead. Then they changed into a human shape as they were flying, and then they came into that V again, and we're gone.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So
how can people deny stuff like that? Like you both see the same thing like within like a reasonable time frame, which to them could be instantaneous, But yeah, that's super cool. And I didn't realize. So Tam, guys, is another. He's in the chat somewhere. I don't know what his name is on his. I just saw him. Chasing the Milk. So he's another astrophotographer, and him and Lily do like all these amazing like astrophotography trips together. But is he starting to see, was that the first time he saw UFOs? I know he had the weird experience the one time, but was that the first time that he's seen craft, I guess?
I'd say there's been a couple other times, and he's even caught them on camera, and he didn't even notice them. Like until I pointed it out. He took a picture of the sun through his telescope, and there was like a big sunspot on it. And then I saw like a little tiny dot. I zoomed in and I was like, whoa, awesome catch. He's like, yeah, it's cool. And I'm like, you got a spaceship in there too, right?
that's great.
There was a triangle, like just straight up triangle in front of the sun. But he has seen a few things. I feel like he's come a long way. At first, he didn't even believe me, and now he's like really open to it, and he's seeing stuff too. So it's really cool to kind of like watch that. I'm like, see, I told you, they're here.
That's so cool. And so, talking about like all the, you guys both have like amazing cameras, obviously. What is like the must-have equipment list for people? And you actually have some videos on this, Lily, about astrophotography. What is like the first thing somebody should get if they want to do more field research? And you guys don't call it that because you're connecting, but to some people, but you essentially are, because you're taking your cameras out, you're taking, your night vision and all that out, what has been the most beneficial, I guess, way of recording for you guys? Is it the meditation and the setup, or do you set up first and then you say, hey, can you fly in front of my camera? Or you should use a night vision or a heat camera? Like what is like your best friend when it comes to capturing these?
I do want to try a heat camera. I haven't tried a heat camera yet, but that's on my list of things to try. But I think honestly, like I've gotten some good results even with like my cell phone. Well, it's not going to be picture worthy where well, I mean, I shared those videos on my TikTok too, even though it was just from my phone. Getting the orbs in front of the sun, you can do that with your phone in the sunlight. But if you want to take it a step further, I'd say binoculars would be good. And then you could get, I use a DSLR camera. You can find like a secondhand one for a couple $100 off of eBay or something like that. And it's a tool called an intervalometer that will take consecutive photos. And I've caught a lot of them that way. And that's just kind of like a $20 thing that you plug into the camera and it'll automatically take a bunch of photos for you because they're so fast. So I've had pretty good success with that. Night vision camera is awesome. John Martin knows a lot about the night vision camera. I just started using that and I've had good results so far with the night vision too.
That's yeah, because a lot of people are complaining that they're not getting enough evidence, but I don't know. I don't think people are looking. I don't think people are paying attention to the evidence that's right in front of them. I think that they're expecting some, high definition, like crap that we would see on TV. I think that they're expecting a lot from, they're shutting things down too quickly. They're limiting what they deem as evidence. And some people be like, well, it has to be this, it has to be that. Like that might be why you're not seeing what you want to see, because you're so rigid in what has to be, what is, what isn't. And that sort of thinking has no business when you're talking about unidentified phenomena, or if you've identified it even. I just think people bring, like, the rigidity has to go, because yes, we do have some real, like, for the people that need that, this is the first time we've had, a senator speak about this publicly, and people are trying to put amendments, the Gillibrand amendment is like a thing that's kind of a real world for people. And some people, it goes back to the camps, right? Like some people are like, well, I didn't need that. And like, cool, neither did I. But we need more people to get on board with accepting this in order to expand the consciousness of humanity. And not a lot of people like that answer because they think it sounds woo-woo, or that's what they always say. It sounds woo-woo.
It's gonna get woo-woo.
There's no way to talk about this without sounding crazy once you pass the threshold. So I feel like first step, you see some crafts. Second step, you feel some things. Third step, something's in your realm. And then you're like, who the hell do I tell about this? So yeah, nothing's going to make sense. And for a while, I think that we're just so, we don't understand enough about like the material of reality to form these opinions.
I think what happens is the energies and the intelligences, they will come a single time to see what your reaction is. And then from that one experience, they curate all the additional experiences that you have. I've had everything from a giant metallic cross and crescent shaped craft that were the size of office buildings that have come over my home. They were burnished metal. I had 4 craft in 2 sets of 2 in a straight line. I've had cylindrical. I've had the cigar shape came over recently, and just your classic UFO shapes with the hawks are a big part of it for me. They are at the park. They stay up in the trees at night, and they see these things all day long because they're soaring through the skies, and they're very connected with our star family, and they recognize that I go out at night. I'm there by myself, and they see that I connect with them, and they make that connection, and the next day they'll be circling right over the top of wherever I am, and so it's all connected. There's many layers, there's many dimensions of the experience, and if you embrace it, it just becomes more and more complex and beautiful and powerful and loving and interesting. And to me, I just, instead of watching TV from 7 to 8 o'clock, I go outside and I interact with the universe every night that I can.
Nothing beats it. Like I read a lot of like fiction books, and usually if I'm watching a movie, it's like spending quality time, like movie night with the kids or my husband, because they're still not like floating around space like me yet. So so they want to watch things, and I watch it too, and I try to give my brain a break, but my brain's always like, and maybe this is, I don't know if this is a good thing. My I'm always living in my upper chakras, and I know that grounding is very important for that channel to be clear and for you to even understand the energy that you're receiving. But I'm just like bored with everything else. Like if it's not like UFO or fringe topics, I don't want to, to me, I'm trying to get to a point where I am open enough to that I trigger other people to open up to. And that's kind of like a big thing to want, especially in a world where the people only accept the tangible. But I think lots and lots of people are coming around, and whether it be through activation codes being sent or just more people making contact, and it's causing this like almost like a chain reaction of people looking up, and they know that. I mean, nobody can tell you why it's happening, but I can tell you there's some people that have never like one of my neighbors, for example, was just like laughing one day because I was saying something about UFO. This is pre-COVID. And then now, like he was one of those people that he had to see the government acknowledging it, and now he's like, oh well, I watched this Roscoe Tart thing, and like if that's how you're gonna get in, that's how you're gonna get in. But yeah, it's such a fun thing to watch the world just like waking up to this. And some people want it to be faster, but I think it's gonna happen like at the perfect rate.
And I think everybody's gonna kind of be open to this information in different ways, right? And some people, it will take the government. I mean, some people have never thought about this topic, or have only thought about it in the movies or TV or whatever they see that they think is not real. So you know I think we have to appreciate that not everybody is so involved, like in the same way. So, some people it's going to take the government, others it's going to be their own experience, and that's proof enough for them because they believe what they see, and so they don't really need any more proof than that. Although the validation of what they're seeing, I'm sure, is nice and is helping to bring more people out into the open to talk about their own experiences. But I don't think it'll be like this one, way for every person. I think because we're all different, regardless, we're all going to interpret the information different. We're all going to process it and then react differently as well. So
It might show up to people differently too, right? Based on what they're ready to accept. Just like my alien that turned into a little boy, that one when I was little, it's like, oh, she's not ready. I'm a little boy.
Yeah, something more familiar or less intimidating. But yeah, I think like whenever people talk about even just like disclosure, I don't think it'll just be one way for every single person. For each person, it'll be different circumstances based on also their own like mental health state, their own environment, and who they were before finding this information out, and starting to believe it. If they were religious, or if they believed in nothing and they were atheists. Like, I mean, there's going to be different people all around the world who take in that information differently. But I think we're on the right path, and like us talking about it, anybody brave enough to talk about it is doing the right thing. And that's where we're discovering these communities and these people online, and where we're making those connections. And that's also bringing disclosure around the world. Like, I can't believe I'm talking to people around the world. It's really cool when you think about it. You know, I'm up in Canada, so I mean, it's like we're all in like different areas, and it's nice that we can come together in these different ways. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, for sure. So we are coming up on the hour.
Mhm.
So why don't we, is there any things that you guys want to mention as far as, you know, human initiated contact or CE5 work? Any words to kind of encourage people to get out there and try it before they kind of like knock it down?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think if you just have an open mind about it and send the intention out there and just remain open, even ask for a sign, I believe the universe will deliver that sign in whatever way you need it to be delivered. And if you ask, you will receive. That being said, also be specific about who you're trying to make contact with. um, but yeah, and just trying to get into that flow state, doing whatever you enjoy. It's very personalized, very individualized. It could be through art, through music, through photography, through nature, whatever gets you in that loving state, in that flow state. And yeah, definitely give it a shot.
I couldn't improve on that. That's absolutely correct. And that's what I do. And I encourage everybody to project what you love, project what's important to you, project in a positive, beautiful way. And just the energy that you receive when you see these energies that come in from other dimensions just to be with you just for that short time. And it's deliberate, and you know, it's life changing when it actually happens for you. And embrace it, you know, and don't be afraid. You know, there's so much to learn, and you know, we're just all on a different points of a journey. And just embrace it. And if you're not ready, don't try it. But if you are, I think you'll be greatly rewarded, and you could really help humanity move to the next phase of our development as a star people. And I just interestingly, I think this Friday on the Proof is Out There, they're going to be playing my videos. So
Oh, cool.
Woo!
That was my next thing, is to say, like, if you have anything coming up that people should watch. So if you want to send me the information on where people can watch that, I can get it up on a story, or you know, I can put it in the comments later or in the description. So I do have your YouTube
okay.
in the description, but is that the best way for people to find you? I know you have TikTok as well.
You know, I think for people that are just kind of exploring, TikTok is a little better because those are just short excerpts from the longer videos. So what I do is each night, I haven't done it in a few days, and they've changed some aspects of TikTok. You can't turn your video sideways anymore because it shrinks it. You lose all the details. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. But
Yeah, that's hard because you guys use like the big cameras.
yeah. And so yeah, I use TikTok for just the highlights, and then there's links to my YouTube channel in my bio, and then you can see the full videos. I've got a couple hundred at least by now of each, and I add to them every night. And what I use, Priscilla, I use a Psionics, and I put a 3x magnifier on the end of it. As soon as I put that on there, they can recognize that they have recognized it, and one came in and another met right at a star.
Oh,
And
wow.
they've done that many times, and they coordinate efforts. I had a flash the other day. I was just scanning, and I had a little packet of information that said our optic abilities are about 1 million times greater than yours. And I concur, because they have the ability to to do very discrete, infinite adjustments. What they do is they'll have a fast one come in, and they will fly, and they'll connect stars. Lily had that the other day that I pointed out to her, that the relationship between you and them, and they know the star field behind them, and they will make a path and connect as many stars as they can. It's just a form of communication.
Yeah.
It's just another way to validate that it's
It'll
not
get our attention for sure, because we're watching the one constellation or the one star.
Yeah.
I have a chase camera. That's my Sonics, and I just got a Sony A7S III, and I rented this really huge lens, and so I've gotten some really interesting close-up videos that I'm processing right now. So
excited to see those.
Follow his YouTube and go check it out, because he does, every time I see like his highlights on TikTok, and when I found his YouTube, I need to follow you from this account. I'm following you from my old account, but I need to follow you from this one. But he has so much, and they're just so beautiful. Like the ones that you catch are so like peaceful. And then somebody said they want you to read to them at nighttime because you have a relaxing voice. So so we're gonna need you to read some books while you're hanging out with us. We need John to record some meditations, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they can find you on YouTube and TikTok. I put your YouTube because I kind of want people to go there first so they can see like the big videos. And can they find your TikTok through that?
Yeah, my TikTok is at John Martin 1776, something like that. I can't remember.
John Martin, then some numbers. I'll put it in the comments, or I'll add it to the description later. And Lily, I have your link tree up, and Lily just came out with some. Did you launch your merch yet, or?
So I just finished the Starseed hoodies today. Yeah. So
beautiful images too. Like if you like astrophotography, then cool prints.
Yeah, lots of prints, and just kind of space lover stuff, and some starseed. So like a little woo woo, but also for the nuts and bolts people too that just like space.
I just bought the Nebula water bottle. Okay, no. Very cool. And do you guys have anything coming up specifically? Like, are you doing any lives or any other podcasts or anything like that?
For me, I just started doing live CE5s. It was I did a couple on Thursday night. I'll be posting an update on Instagram but I do want to try and do like a weekly thing. And John, me and you need to get together and do a live.
We will. Absolutely, I want to. That would be great.
Yeah.
It'd be a first for me, and I'd love to do that with you.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Wonderful.
Yeah, let me know when you guys are doing that. I can share it, and other people can share it too, because I think a lot of people are curious without wanting to say that they're curious, and they want to try it, but they don't want to tell their friends they want to try it. So we can get it. I mean, I don't care. I'm like, I'm out there trying to see aliens or spacecraft. So.
We got you.
Later, I'm like, I'm trying to contact interdimensionals. They're like, what? It's easier just to say alien. People will know what you're talking about. And Artemis, we all know where to find you, but what do you have going on next?
Tomorrow we are actually interviewing Bradley Voorhees and Tony, aka Bottled Water, who's in the chat. So we'll be kind of more talking tomorrow about like theoretical physics and like technology, science, kind of the God equation, which Bradley is kind of been working on, and I think he's created an EMF. Oh God, I'll butcher it, but he's been making something.
You gotta watch
he's very interesting for sure. I've talked to him on the Singularity Lab before, so he's definitely really smart. He's self-taught for physics. Like he learned it in like only like 5-6 months ago, and he's an engineer as well. So it's kind of cool to kind of get all these perspectives. Like I don't know, like Lily and John, you probably don't know who I am because nobody. No, but we kind of focus like on the whole umbrella of this topic, like consciousness, science, like UFOs and technology, because like they're all linked in our opinion. Like when my partner Josh do it together, and so we kind of think that all of these things are connected and not just nuts and bolts or woo woo. It's like so. It's really fun to kind of get involved with all these different people and get their perspectives on these things. So yeah, that's going on tomorrow at 8, and then Saturday we're gonna talk to Alien Girl 111 Benji and Quantum Witch. So it'll be really fun.
Awesome.
So, everybody, thank you so much for coming, John. It was so great to see you face to face. It was good talking, catching up with you too, Lily. And you can find them all. I have all their information in the description. And go watch Voorhees. He's very interesting. I've seen him on Singularity Lab too, and he's so smart, but he like talks about it, and everybody understands. Like I feel like he relates it in an understanding way for people.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
you know
which is really nice. It's a breath of fresh air, but also still blows your mind, but you're kind of at least understanding a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And bottled water, I need to get you on again too. It's time for you to come to Ladies Night again. So thank you everybody in the chat, Stuart, Bottled Water, the lovely ladies from that one time I was abducted, JJ, Flarius, Kevin, and
no, he changed it tonight to Flarius.
I know. That's why I got confused. I was like, "Where's Stephen Greer's
I
Flair?"
know.
His name used to be Stephen Greer's Flair.
I'd like to say that I had a hand in that.
Oh, it's cooler. It sounds like a weird Greek god or something. And everybody else that was here earlier that left, if you're rewatching the end of this, thank you for showing your support. Make sure you go follow everybody on here. And I will see you guys Saturday on Primetime Channel.
Yes.
Have a good one.
We're so excited.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.